It's Pastor Jack Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning as we take a look at one of the trickier parts of life, I find, which is letting go of what we cannot control or what we cannot change. And it's really indeed a big challenge to let go of those things. And so much of life is this beautiful letting go. And what we've been looking at this week is we've taken a little time out from looking at Noah's Ark. We're looking towards the Sunday service. We were looking at 5 questions. Each day we're looking at one of these questions. So yesterday we took another little time out to talk about Hurricane Ian. Today we're back on track and looking at those questions. And Jesus is beautiful at asking questions. I mean, he asks far more questions than he gives answers. That's clear. And it's not even close. I mean, there's different people do different kinds of Bible studies, and he asked literally dozens and dozens and dozens of questions, and only a handful of times does he offer answers. A lot of the time he asks another question, which is, I think, very Jesus-y, as they would say, very much the way Jesus tends to work. And it's very engaging when you start to think, oh yeah, what's he trying to say by asking this question? And this question is one where he's clearly offering a thought underneath it. So today's question is this: who of you by worrying can add a single hour to their life? Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to their life? Love that quote, right? Here's Jesus thinking, they're offering to us. There's so much of life that we just don't control. We don't control how long we live. By and large, we don't, obviously. We don't control our height. We don't control um, all kinds of things. And this is this beautiful line where Jesus is going like, look, why worry about that stuff that you can't control? Why? Because the worrying, no matter how much you worry about it, is not going to actually change it. And I know for me, and I imagine for many of you, there's this weird kind of, yeah, but somebody has to worry about it. Which is as if our worrying is some form of agency. And if you're holding worry as a form of agency, just be careful. Agency is agency. In other words, being able to do is being able to do. Worrying is not necessarily a form of agency, though, again, obviously we don't want to take any of these things too far. And the part I really want to talk about here, folks, is just that idea of really getting clear. What are those things we control? What are those things we don't? And one of the big ones I've been thinking about over the past couple weeks is there clearly are those things we control, those things we don't. And a big part of those things we don't control, we have to come to peace with, is that there are some relationships that we're just not going to be able to change or control. And again, there are a lot of relationships where there is room for growth, where there is room for change. And yet there are those relationships in our life where there just aren't. And we need to be candid about that, but not mean about it, not cruel about it, not how come you can never change? It's not that at all. It's just a simple acceptance that some relationships are what they are. And how do we find peace with that? How do we find peace with a relationship that always just is a little bit like a pebble in your shoe? It's always a little bit of an ouch, a little bit of an annoyance, a little bit of, oh man, I wish they dot 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 dot. And that's where we really can come to a much deeper acceptance of life. And it's hard to get words to this because we don't want to. This is not about sort of apathy, like forget it all. It's not it at all. I think we can still hold the desire for things to change, and at that same time, we also need to have the candid acceptance that sometimes things won't. And how do we just find peace in that? Well, we find peace by finding our own peace. We find peace by looking within our heart to get that worrying's not going to really change it. And for me, I constantly try to think of it this way as moving forward. We always want to make sure we have clear invites to people in our lives, clear invites for moving forward with something, clear invites to a better future, clear invites to a reimagined, authentic alternative in terms of relationships. And at the same time, once those invites are out there, we sort of have to let it go because not all people are going to see the world the way we do or want to step into it the way we would step into it. And that's, I feel like my words are kind of failing me a little bit here. That is really challenging because there's a part of us that so wants to change other people, wants to change relationships for very good reasons a lot of the time. And that isn't always possible. Sometimes the only thing that is possible is just simply to love them. That's it. Just simply to love them. And if we can't do that, to just simply do our best to send our love to them if it's from a distance. And maybe that's the most effective way to start to move through to a new form. I Yeah, this is all tricky. This is all tricky stuff, but I think it's important to remember, again, I think what Jesus is pointing at here, there's lots of things we don't control. There's lots of things we can't change. There's lots of things we just have to, with gritted teeth, some days just accept. And sometimes relationships are in that basket as well. So folks, just for today, a takeaway for today might be to think about those relationships where you just have a sense, yeah, this probably isn't going to change, and just breathe a little bit with that. Think a little bit about that. Yeah, that might be okay. And just think about this simple idea: God is there too. God is there too. So that's the thought for today, dear friends. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a breath. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to do a little prayer, and then we're going to do a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media. So with that, dear friends, let's take a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. Oh, folks, let us take a look. And again, I hope you are all doing well. Yeah, still a lot of thoughts down south with our dear friends down there. I was sort of thinking in my own head about that. Yeah, just thinking a lot about that. Dear friends down there. All right, here we go. So let's take a little look at what comments we might have today from folks. And again, we read comments off of New Church Live's Facebook page. All right. Rita, good morning to you, my friend, and so excited about the new grandbaby on the way. Martha said, let go of worrying many years ago. Not that I don't worry, but at a point of a major trauma, I learned to let go and let God. I don't invest much in big worries anymore. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, Martha, that's so well said. And I really, and I've never been able to turn it into a good sermon. It just seems like it's just waiting there, but I can't quite get all the language around it. I love the phrase "pay attention," and we literally have to pay something for our attentiveness. And if it's into that drama stuff, doesn't work so terribly well. Sue, good morning to you, my friend. Uh, Sherry writes, "It's Thursday. Enjoy your day." Yes, amen to that. Remember, I was saying, Sherry, how much I enjoy Thursdays, and today I get to go out to dinner with some friends, which will be super super fun. Good Thursday thing to do. Marcus, so on point on this. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Marcus, and not easy at all. Sue writes, "I used to believe that if I worried, then I could change the outcome. Weird thinking that told me my worrying would prevent bad things happening." Yeah, Sue, and I think that the amazing wait, that's so prescient of you to say that because I think so many of us we do that. Like we really somehow think that we confuse worrying with agency. Somehow that there's something good will happen because of it. So I think that is really true. Sherry writes, "Such truth." Thank you, Sherry. Kathy, good to have you joining us, and thank you for the good morning there. Betty, I think you're spot on here. Betty writes, "Good morning. Family is especially too difficult to walk away from. But if they are toxic, unhealthy, love from a distance, always sending goodwill, blessing all." Betty, I think that's spot on. And the goodwill part is critical. It's interesting in Christian New Church theology, one could argue that the primary moral virtue is goodwill. And that idea, and it gets right back to Christmas, it gets right back to peace on earth, goodwill to man, that we have to have, no matter what, we can't let go of that goodwill towards other people. That's a really big one. Gene writes, "Good morning, friends. I try to let go and let God." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's a constant battle, isn't it? Uh, Linda writes, "Worrying is so hard. The Serenity Prayer says it all, I think." Yeah, you know what, Linda? I would totally agree with that. It was funny this morning when I was prepping for this. I thought, yeah, I should read the Serenity Prayer. And then I thought, oh, I got plenty of other stuff to talk about. But if you do want to read the Serenity Prayer, it'll tell you a lot about this topic. So, friends, wishing you all the very best on your day ahead. God bless me. May have a day just simply accepting those things in your life that aren't going to change, and just even finding a little blessing there. We'll see you. Bye bye.